Hello, and welcome to the JCC of Metro Detroit's 22nd annual Lenore Marwell Detroit Jewish Film Festival. I'm so glad you could all join us today. My name is Jamie Loeb, and I'm the Senior Director of Cultural Arts here at the JCC. Today's film discussion and all of our live film discussions are presented in partnership with the Detroit Institute of Arts Detroit Film Theater. I want to thank them for their support and help in making these live events a reality. One of the ways the Detroit Film Theater has been involved with the festival is through their director, Elliot Wilhelm. He's one of the deans of the Detroit film scene and a part-time faculty member at Wayne State University. And we are thrilled to have him with us this afternoon as our film expert in resident, host, and moderator. So this is our very first virtual festival, and we are thrilled to be able to connect with all of you in the comfort of your own homes. The festival goes from October 4th until the 30th, and all of our films, except for one special event film, are available to watch on demand throughout that entire time. And of course, throughout the month, we have an extensive series of free live film discussions here on YouTube. You can find the entire schedule, buy tickets to our films, and buy festival passes right here at our website, culturalarts.jccdet.org/filmfest. And of course, while you're here on our YouTube channel, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the reminder bell, comment on things. It's the best way to keep up with all of our virtual events from the JCC. As we go through our discussion today, we definitely want to hear from you. We want to hear your comments, your questions, your thoughts, your ideas. So you can put those either in the comment box below or text them to the number right here on your screen, 248-973-7286. We have a great discussion prepared for you this afternoon, but of course, we'll get to as many questions as we can. So the film we're discussing today is Back to Maracanã. It's an Israeli film that takes place mostly in Brazil. It's a road trip comedy, a family drama, and a great escape from the everyday. Our guest today is the writer and director of the film, Jorge Gurvich. Jorge is an accomplished screenwriter, cinematographer, producer, and director who has worked on all kinds of films and TV. Originally from Argentina, Jorge has been living and working in Israel since 1978, and I think the Israeli film industry is better for it. So please join me in welcoming Elliot Wilhelm, our host, and our guest, Jorge Gurvich.
Hello, Jorge. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Great. I'll preface this. It's great to have you here. I'll preface this by just saying that one of the upsides, if there is one, of the situation we're all living in now is that we get to speak to people from around the world via the internet. And one of the drawbacks of it is that occasionally electronics can fail us or not be everything we'd like. So just to let our audience know, we're having a little bit of signal trouble from where you are right now in terms of internet access. But if you drop out, come back as fast as you possibly can. But I expect you'll be able to stay online with us, I hope. Jorge, can you tell us a little bit about the origins of Back to Maracanã? Because it felt to me, not knowing a lot about it in advance, very, very personal. And it felt, I don't know if it was autobiographical in any way, but it felt very much like an actual family story that was being told, unless you're just really good at convincing us otherwise. But tell me a little bit about where the film came from.
Okay. The idea for the film came to me. Can you hear me? It's okay?
Yes. You're with us. We hear you.
Okay. So the idea for this film came to me during I had with my 3 sons. I told like that when I will be dead, don't come to the cemetery to tell me about my grandchildren that I'm not going about your careers and work. Please, I'm begging you, come every 4 years to tell me what happened with Argentina in every World Cup. My eldest son told me, "Papa, you're an idiot." So from this conversation, I to write idea to tell this story.
So are these based on actual people, or are they literally the people who are involved in this?
I am also divorced, like a protagonist. So for me to be from Argentina and from Brazil is the same in the crazy passion that we have. Soccer is very important in my life. I am from Argentina, and I am feeling that I hope soccer. Why? Because when I was young and I came to Israel, there was a dictatorship in Argentina government. My friends, my Jewish friends, were participants in the revolutionary movements, the dictatorship, and a lot of them were killed. And I was playing soccer 4 hours a day in the street, and I didn't read a book till my 20 years old. So I think that the soccer saved my life in a certain way. I was totally concentrated in soccer, not in to make a better world, like my friends. That a crazy prize for this movement. But I think that for me, soccer it was very important from the beginning.
And how do you feel about soccer now? Has it changed in importance in your life? Obviously, you're doing other things, but is that still there? Is that a drive to be involved in the sport still there?
The question now is like all everything in the new world, that is capitalism and neoliberalism. So the money is running, it's making a lot of problems because they are multi-millionaires. The players, they are earning in one day what people in 1 year or in one life. They are earning sometimes millions of dollars in one day. So it's a crazy situation. Okay, that I knew that this movie it's having a lot of critics about the world of soccer because of the story. I don't want to give too much details about the story because I think that people we want to see the movie. But there are tragedies in the story, in my story in this movie. People are dying because of soccer. So if I wanted to say something about life, I think that is in the movie. When we start in the movie to try to get countries, we had a sentence. There is only one thing more important than family: soccer. But it didn't work because it didn't work, the sentence, because it was too much extreme.
But you show the sport, at least as I see it in the film, as in some portions of the story that's being told, as a destructive force, but also as a healing force. It seems to have the power to unite people in ways that are both, positive and negative. And I, without giving away the ending of the film, you seem to come down on the side of it being a positive force, at least sport being a positive force. Am I seeing your attitude correctly?
Yes, of course. I think that any passion in life is very important. We need to live life in a good ways, in positive ways, and not in a destructive way. Soccer is a way of escapism in a certain way, but because if people sometimes, how do you like this sport if you are watching 22 persons a ball. That is a stupid sport. It's so simple, the sport, that is very universal. So for me, it's the way that people communicate. And when I was filming during the World Cup in Brazil, I was very, very touched by the feeling a South American person, not a person. I was feeling it have a lot of common with the people from Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, Colombia. It's a question, and for me, the best way to tell stories in movies are to talk about our identity. And my first identity is being Jew person, not more than a citizen from Israel or from Argentina.
Right.
And the identity is being a filmmaker. It's like I have a citizenship like a filmmaker, and we sometimes we're meeting with different filmmakers from another part of the world, and we don't talk the same language, but we can communicate in a good way. Words, because we are citizens of our professions, not citizens of our countries.
It's a universal language. Cinema is a universal language that I think is understood in many ways everywhere. You can find people at film festivals all over the world responding to movies that are not in any way having that much in common physically with their own culture, but there's generally an emotional connection with the storytelling that makes it still this incredibly popular art form, which is why we miss theaters right now. We miss the idea of being with other people when we see a movie. But I'm curious as to whether or not you've had a long history of a friendship and acquaintance with people in the Brazilian film industry, because Brazil has an extraordinary history of making some of really wonderful movies that I began becoming familiar with in the 80s.
We filmed the movie in two different. First part was during the World Cup in 2014 in a documentary way, and all the atmosphere of the World Cup without the actors, with the band traveling in all the city and all the people, the thousands. So only 3 years later we filmed with the actors. Why? Because a question of money. We had of the budget in the first part, so we went to Brazil to start. And after we filmed during the World Cup in 2014, Brazil, the second partner to. So Brazil lost to Germany 7-1 to Germany 7-1. So I was already back in Israel. I called the Brazilian producer and I told him, now what happens? A day after they lost 7-1, and he told me, Jorge, I don't know. Brazilian producer, we need to wait. I don't understand. We need to wait. I don't understand you. I almost showed him. American people are making movies about Vietnam. We, the Jew people, are making movies about the Holocaust. And he told me, Jorge, soccer is different. Soccer is different. That's right, because it took him 2 years to get the support from the Brazilian fan to support a movie about the World Cup soccer, Brazilian point of view.
And were you doing other movies in the time that it took to get this off the ground?
No, now we are planning. I have my next movie. Movies like this one was about the subject of 3 generations: grandpa, his son, and his grandchildren. Sometimes not only men. And my next movie also is an Argentinian Jew-Israeli comedy with 3 generations. Now is a better how.
We're losing you right now, but I'll ask you this question in terms of making films in Brazil or making films in Argentina. Do you get production assistance? Do you get funding from these other countries? Are they co-productions, or are you an Israeli film company that's simply shooting there? Are they part of the project?
Yes, this movie was the first co-production between Israel and Brazil and Germany. Germany was inside also. It was the first co-production between Israel and Brazil. Interesting to work with the different people because every industry are working in a different way. In Brazil, the crew were with a lot of people. In Israel, we are working 50 or something like that, 40 persons. And the question of language is important because I'm speaking Spanish. Which of the movie, half of the movie was in Portuguese. I can understand and I can talk in Portuguese, but not enough well. The problem was with the cast, the actors. They were cursing a lot against the language because the Brazilian actor need to talk Hebrew, very hard language to learn. It's impossible language to learn. And the Israeli actor Roberto, he need most of the dialogue in Portuguese, but he did a great job learning a new language.
This reminds me of a line of dialogue in a film by Francois Truffaut from the 1970s called Day for Night, in which he played a film director, and he was being interviewed by an American journalist. And he stopped and said, "I speak English, but I don't understand it," which always struck me as pretty brilliant. I could probably say the same thing about myself. Are you also someone who makes films entirely within Israel?
The side of Israel?
Within Israel, or
are
you also are you always looking for other places to set your stories, or are you generally making films that take place entirely within?
I have now two projects. I have with Argentina as another project film, and I have a very good friend an Israel Arabic Palestinian movie that we are making with the next movie. And but this is a universal for me. Like is for me are interesting. In Europe, I was with I did in Auschwitz, Birkenau, in the concentration camps, a short movie, a very strong short movie. I was filming there. It was very
documentary.
No, it's a fiction movie. A short movie, 35 minutes. Precious necklace. Movie, but it was very strong to be filming in the concentration camp. For me, it was a strong feeling, strong making of the movie was very, very important for me. The question if the Jewish thematic are always present is for me very natural about the identity. For me, it's more important to feel a Jewish person than the Israeli person, for example. I'm feeling more a Jewish person, a Jew person, an Israeli person. It's more important for me, this kind of identity. I'm teaching 30 already, and I'm telling to my student that for me, filmmaking is the best profession in the world because you live in a certain way. But the second profession for me, incredibly, is to be in a delivery room, witness of this miracle all day, all the time.
I couldn't quite hear what the second best profession was. You have to repeat that for me.
The second best profession is to be in a delivery room to be
An
to be
obstetrician.
present of this incredible moment.
But
To work
is
all
giving,
giving birth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is
for me, it's
it?
incredible.
Is there any parallel in your head? And could this be one of the reasons? Some filmmakers have described films as being their children, or of the feeling of giving birth to a movie, and once they show it to an audience, they see whether the kid's any good or not. Is there something that you feel when you finish a film that you are giving birth to something
Yeah.
that is alive in a sense?
I think that the movies we are doing, they have life. So they are talking to us, the directors. No, Jorge, this is not good for me. No. Okay, this is good. That to learn them. For example, in this movie, in Back to Maracanã, do you remember the scene with the blanket in the van? The father is covering his son, the blanket during the rainy day.
Yeah.
Elliot?
You're talking about the leak in the.
Do you remember the blanket?
Yes.
Sorry, the blanket in the plane in the beginning, and the blanket in the car in the van when the father is covering his son, and in the it's written that the grandfather is sleeping. He's not being witness of this moment.
Right.
Rehearsal, no. Before I don't want to make a spoiling, but before the end, that is going to be very not easy for this protagonist. I wanted to give him a moment of grace, and a moment of grace is being witness that his son is becoming again a father. I did the day of shooting because I was able to hear the movie talking to me and to comment to the movie. So in this way, I think that the movies are talking to us.
That's very beautifully put. Thank you. That's even a better answer than I was hoping for. And when people see the film, if they haven't seen it yet, it's a beautiful sequence. It's filled with really wonderful human touches, and it is not something that falsely tugs at your heartstrings. It feels like a very honestly told tale. You know how at the beginning of some films you'll sit through a movie for 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour, and you say, I'm not trusting this. It's not that you don't believe it or it's not realistic, but you don't feel like giving yourself over to the filmmaker. And in your film, which is a story about generations within a family, that is not an unfamiliar story in a sense to audiences, you nevertheless give yourself over to your movie very willingly, and it doesn't take very long. And I found myself very engrossed in it. I'm also someone, I'll confess to you, who's not a sports person. I'm not a sports fan, and I'm also not someone who is particularly fond of most sports movies, because I kind of feel like I know where they're going and we're all going to be cheering at the end, and it's a unifying thing. And fine, that's great. But it takes a great filmmaker to get me involved in a film that has sports at its center. And your movie, yeah, there's a big line of a through line in which soccer is very important, but you always, I hate to put it this way, keep your eye on the ball, and that is the family and the individual characters, even down to the behavior of the son in very quiet moments. Just like any child, what he's thinking, how he's hurt, how he's reacting. He's a wonderful actor, by the way, I think. I don't know if he's acted before, but children's performances are, as you know better than anybody, I guess, tough. I don't know if it was easy for you to work with him, but he was marvelous. All the people in your movie were.
I think we, the filmmakers, are great liars.
That's what you do for a living, right?
Yes, but we are lying to create a moment of true moments. So we are working very hard, lying all the time, but in a professional way, to have the reality. And I am a person that I'm crying 2 or 3 times at least in a week. All the time I'm crying. So if the movie is touching the soul of the people, it's not because I am a sensitive person, because I know how to do this feeling, this sensitivity to be in the movie. So for me, it's not hard work to make a movie, because I'm giving life. It's a question of life. It's not lying. It's the most close to real life. So, for example, the child, I did a lot of movies with children. To a child easy because they are awful, nothing in the middle. The children, I think, are all excellent or very bad. Nothing in the middle. So
yeah.
We saw some almost 300 children.
Whoa.
Child, 300. And I knew during the process that I need a child 12 years old, not 10 years old and not 14. Because when the child 14 years old, I was feeling it's not the movie. The father is missing the child. 14 years old, a father again is very late in my feeling for the movie. So when this child, I saw 10 years old, I don't want to see him. It was very, very, but the father told me, but the director, he learned the dialogue, he prepared himself. I don't want to see him. So I saw him, and in the moment he opened his mouth and he started walking, I was crying. And I fell in love in this moment, and I knew that I'm going to the end with him.
Had he acted before?
He did some commercials.
Mm-hmm.
2 commercials, but not more than that.
In terms of getting the emotion out, I know it can be a fine line in getting a child to do exactly what you want. Vittorio De Sica told this famous story about when he was making The Bicycle Thief or Bicycle Thieves, and the child who played Bruno, a kid named Enzo Staiola. Enzo has a scene where he has to sit down on a sidewalk and sob because his father, whose bicycle was stolen, he's a tragic figure, but he's acting so angry and he's acting out, and the child is afraid. And De Sica needed the shot, and the kid wouldn't cry. So he stuffed his jacket pockets with cigarette butts from other people in the crew, and he said, now people are going to see you with all that dirt, all those dirty cigarette butts in your pockets, and they're going to call you a bum. And little Enzo started sobbing, and De Sica said, roll it. And they got the shot, and that's what's in the film. I don't know if that's child abuse or if it's just, motivational direction. But it must be, on most films, I would assume, a tough thing to do. But you didn't have to go through that.
Yeah, no. The best way is to explain the situation to the child, to be and to understand the situation and to react. And it was beautiful working with him. He cried on the set. And all the crew, 70 Brazilian people, start clapping on him. It was very touching. Very touching.
Positive reinforcement. Yeah, he was wonderful. We got a couple of comments and questions here. Someone wrote in, Dan, really enjoyed the film. Was there a specific takeaway that you as the filmmaker wanted us to think about after the movie ended? And if so, what was your intended takeaway?
That is interesting. The question is the spoiler because I had a.
You can talk around it a little bit.
Today, sorry.
You could talk around it a little bit without being too specific. No. But I know. Yeah.
I wrote today. Read because today I was writing something. People make of the game of soccer a sacred thing, as other people make of religions also a sacred thing. But the only sacred thing that exists is life itself. That's how I was thinking about the movie. That for me the family is very important. I don't know why. I always maybe it's about families.
Yes, it is, and the important characters in the film realize this too at the end. So Dan, there's your takeaway.
My Russian grandma from. I was Argentinian, but my two grandma. So they were almost every night they were living with us, were telling me in English pogrom stories, so I can get sleep. so
you could get to sleep.
That's something.
Did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, pogrom stories. Relax.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, and I was shocked about the story, but it was very strong. The Jewish identity and to live with the grandmother in your house was very important for me. It was very so I think that for me, family is most of my films are always talking about the subject of family.
And Jamie, I want to bring you in and find out if you've got other questions that you're getting in.
No, I think our trend of people actually eating their lunch while watching us is continuing. So lunchtime show.
Oh, the beef looked so good. Speaking of lunch, right. all of the Brazilian meat scenes, I was going crazy because I'm a big carnivore. So it just looked terrific. And I saw it early in the day when I saw it, but I really couldn't wait to get lunch. I love that sequence when they were cooking and making a few dollars with the people who were sort of camped out waiting for the game. I thought that was a beautiful little grace moment in the film. It was really lovely.
And I think obviously soccer is at the center of this movie, but food is not far off from that. And I think, the power of food to bring people together is unmatched, I would say, even by soccer. And yeah, I think the way the various obsessions, for lack of a better word, each character had their own focus, and yet they eventually merged together in a way that was quite satisfying, I think.
Right.
And, I guess so. Obviously, as the woman in the room, my experience of the film was a little different because, it's not, I don't have a frame of reference, right? Certainly I have parents, I have siblings, only of that whole group, there's only one male. So, it was when I first read about the film and I started the film, I thought to myself, this is going to be like Boys Night Out.
A guy movie.
A guy's movie, right?
Yeah.
But I was very engaged very quickly, like you were saying before, Elliot. And I mean, it had a feel of truth that I can't verify from my own experience. But it just had a kind of realness, for lack of a better word. And so, I mean, I guess this isn't really a question because Elliot already asked you, like, is this autobiographical? But I guess to follow up on that, were the relationships between, you know, the way the son related to his father and both sons really related to their fathers, was that a mirror of your own relationships, or was it something more of an amalgamation that you've observed?
Oh, it's a question also of making the same mistakes like your father in a certain way. This is important for the movie. But the woman's side is interesting because the mother has not appearing enough in the movie, only 3 times, 3 scenes, but she wants her life back. She needs to be loved again, to perhaps to bring more children to the world and to live better than with this person. So for me, it's not enough because I wanted to give her more space. But this was the story, the limitation of the story. The sister also is very important. The sister of the grandmother, the grandpa.
Right.
When they are saying, they are watching when he's leaving for the last time to the last match. It is a very important moment for me because I knew that she is finishing the movie in these parts. For me, it's very important moment for this character. But I did a lot. The movie that I did. Yeah, she's the family of Jorge Amado, the greater writer, Brazilian writer. She's Camila Amado. She's the nephew, I think, the nephew of Jorge Amado. Yeah. It's I don't know. To make a touching movie, you need to believe in the character. You need to try to talk about yourself, about life, about people that you really love. It's a story in a certain way, but it's a story about the family. I call the movie being again a father, being again a son. This is a good way for me to try to explain about the movie.
Yeah,
being
kind of
again a father and being a son.
You know, I think another interesting bit of it is, again, you know, based on the setup, right? You think, oh, divorced couple, child, there's going to be tension. You know, you can sort of predict where the tension is going to be. And you certainly have the required tension between, you know, the two people who are divorced. But what I really appreciated is neither of them was made into a villain. I feel like in movies and TVs, so often when you see two people who are divorced, you know, you are, as a viewer, you are expected to choose a side. One of them is the bad guy. And I feel like you avoided that. I mean, I think you did a great job of avoiding that, in fact, because I think over the course of the film, it became clear that these two were just not compatible. But so, you know, you also avoided the sort of very trite, oh, we'll get them back together sort of story, but also even though this is very much a movie watched and watchable by families, kids, teenagers, right? It's an all ages kind of movie. I feel like the subtlety of that relationship was really impressive.
Yes,
And the
when
new
we are
guy, the
meeting,
German guy, turns out to not be such a bad guy.
Right. He's also not a bad guy.
He comes off at the beginning like, "Up, I see where this is going.
Right.
This is the evil one who is going to, tip his hand and be rejected." But he turns out to be decent. There are no villains in the movie, and it's
funny
like the old.
all the no, you're right. All the divorce in the movie. It's not heavy too much. And again, the last part, the mother, it was with the optimistic side, side for his ex-husband. It's nice. I really love to try to finish every character with a positive.
Mhm.
It's a very generous movie, and it has a very generous spirit, and it's I would dare say that it's exactly what people need right now. So I hope it gets a wide audience.
Yeah. It's
And it-
definitely a feel-good movie without
It's
being
a kind of trip. Now we cannot fly, we cannot trip enough, not a lot. So the movie is to another country, so you can feel the feeling of having a trip with another person, with another fight, and looking at the incredible country Brazil and the incredible world of soccer. People in Israel like the movie in a people that don't like soccer, they like the movie. They don't have problems at all with the soccer part
That's right.
of the movie. I think it's very important because it's not a movie about soccer, not at all.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the soccer could have been anything. I mean,
another passion is another passion.
Yeah.
Soccer is a passion.
Right. I mean, they could have all had a passion for, I don't know, early Elizabethan art or whatever it was, and it still would work. I mean, it probably wouldn't have been visually as fun, as having that if they were all just like flocking.
Or as relatable.
Right.
Relatable, to many people who are going to see the film. But in a sense, you're right, Jamie. It's kind of a MacGuffin.
Yep.
Whatever it was that was the force, their driving, passionate force in the film, that would have worked.
Since we are a film festival,
actually,
after you.
No, actually, a short story. Actually, the first actor that read the script was a very, very famous Israeli actor. He read the script and he told me, "I love the script, Jorge. I don't like soccer." And I told him, with the family intuition, my woman side of the intuition, I told him, "But you have another passions?" And he smiled in the telephone and said, "Yeah, I understand." He understood that the movie is not about soccer, that the movie is about passion. Okay, the movie, he told me. So this is interesting.
So since part of our mission is to educate people, and Elliot used one of my favorite film criticism, film theory phrases, MacGuffin. Elliot, why don't you just tell our audience a little bit about what that means? It's just the greatest word ever. And I just want to make sure that people know they can come into the lingo a little bit.
In a sense, it's a device.
Talk about Hitchcock, please.
What's that? I'm sorry.
MacGuffin is Hitchcock, please.
Hitchcock, of course.
Yeah.
Hitchcock used the word to describe. Let's take for an example a piece of microfilm, spy microfilm in Hitchcock's film North by Northwest. The whole plot revolves around it, but nobody really cares about it. It's just something that causes all of these characters to do all of these other extraordinary things that make the movie interesting. But we never even find out what's on the microfilm. Nobody cares what's on the microfilm. It's a story that Hitchcock used to tell about two Britishers on a train, and one of them has a small case in the luggage rack over his head. And one says to the other, "Say, what's in that case?" And he said, "That's a MacGuffin." And the other one says, "Well, what's a MacGuffin?" And he said, "It's actually a device for trapping lions in the Scottish Highlands." And the other passenger said, but there are no lions in the Scottish Highlands. And he responds, well, then I guess that's no MacGuffin. So you take the logic of that and transform it into, it doesn't matter, but it's gotten us talking now, hasn't it? So in a sense, while soccer is a real thing and people really love it, it could have been a device for trapping lions in the Scottish Highlands, I guess.
It's it's the excuse. The gaff in the soccer is the excuse to tell the story.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think I only will call something a MacGuffin if it is replaceable. If it's, like you say, an excuse. Mm-hmm. Whereas if it's the sort of thing that is actually integral to the part in its
can't be too specific, right?
Like if it's not replaceable, like if this movie were about soccer players, soccer would not be a MacGuffin because they would be doing the thing. So there's your film theory / film criticism word of the day, folks. So we've come to the end of our time, and I want to say thank you to Jorge Gurvich for joining us all the way from Israel. Thank you to Elliot for moderating our discussion. Thank you, everyone. And I want to let you know that our next film discussion is on Monday, October 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be talking with Elaine Hall, whose work is the subject of Autism the Musical and Autism the Sequel. So these are our special event films. They're only available to watch October 18th through the 22nd. So we really hope you'll take some time during next week to watch those films and join us on Monday night, October 19th, 7 p.m. right here on YouTube to talk with Elaine Hall. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.